Formula One is a sport for the elite, with most drivers coming from wealthy families, racing academies, or even buying their way into a race seat. It's hard to break through, but there is one driver who came from nothing, an unknown newcomer who became a Formula One legend. This legend is Kimi Räikkönen, a driver with only one season in Junior Series, who said next to nothing, but proved he could do one thing really well: drive a Formula One car as fast as possible. To understand how Kimi became a world champion and a Formula One legend coming from a family where money was scarce, we have to go back to the year 1987. After having a simple but good youth together with his parents and his 2-year older brother, Rami, in Espoo, Finland, both children started karting. But this wasn't easy for the Räikkönen family. The hard-working parents, Matti and Paula, worked together as a road builder and an office clerk respectively. Father Räikkönen sometimes worked 2 to 3 jobs. He worked as a road builder by day, but did night shifts as a taxi driver and a nightclub bouncer. The family had an outdoor bathroom, with plans to build an indoor one, which they postponed to fund their sons' racing careers. Despite their limited financial resources, the Räikkönens were a happy family. At the age of 8, Kimi started karting, with multiple wins in the Mini and Junior Series in different karting classes over the years. He became 2nd overall in the Finnish Cup in 1994 at the age of 14. His first international race was in 1995 when he moved to Formula A karting. This race was memorable. During the race, Kimi's steering wheel broke, but he continued. He informed his mechanic on the home straight by waving his steering wheel in the air. But his next race might be even more memorable. Because of a first-lap collision, he was thrown onto the wrong side of the safety fence. Kimi lifted his kart back onto the track and continued racing. Everybody thought he'd retired, but Kimi caught up with the other competitors and finished 3rd. Early on, he showed his mentality and will to win. In 1997, his karting career started to take off. He won multiple championships, got invited to drive for the Peter de Bruyn team, and competed at the highest international level. At the age of 18, he moved out and lived in the Netherlands. At his new team, Kimi started to dominate. In 1998, he became the Finnish, Nordic, and European karting champion. He finished 2nd in Super A, 3rd in the Monaco Cup, and retired from 7th position in the World Championship. He showcased his talent when he had the chance to stand on an international podium. In 1999, he had a short stint in single-seaters, but after a handful of starts and a 10th place in his first race, he decided to return to karts because his chassis was just too uncompetitive. He returned to karting and won 13 races out of the 17 he started in. He finished 2nd overall in the Finnish Championship and 10th in the World Championships. But then, 20-year-old Kimi Räikkönen wasn't finished with single-seaters despite his early disappointment. He joined the 1999 Formula Renault UK Winter Series, a new challenge with hopefully better machinery. The Winter Series was held at Donington Park in November. The cold conditions, they weren't a problem for the Finn. With 4 race starts and 4 wins, he again proved his natural talent. In 2000, he joined the British Formula Renault Championship, but that wasn't possible without some help. Kimi's accomplishments in the Finnish karting scene and the Winter Series, that gained him some attention from the Robertson family. Father Dave and son Steve Robertson decided to help manage the young Finn's career. They enabled Räikkönen to finally leave the karts and further progress in single-seaters. Kimi joined Manor Motorsport. Team boss John Booth recalled, "Kimi stayed in karts for a long time, mainly because he couldn't raise the money to get out until the Robertsons got involved. It was Kimi's first full season in car racing, and he was driving for a top team." Then the season started, with Kimi finishing 3rd and his teammate winning the race. He directly showed that he needed no time to adapt. The second race was at Donington Park, the circuit Kimi dominated in the Winter Series. He dominated again, pole position, the fastest lap, and winning the race. He went on with more wins and multiple podium finishes. After 4 consecutive wins, Kimi was the 2000 British Formula Renault champion. He didn't compete in the final 2 rounds in September, but this wasn't due to a lack of interest or funding. It was simply because his racing career was about to take off. The Robertsons realized that their prospect had the wow factor and an ability to dominate races from start to finish. David Robinson decided it was time to get Kimi into Formula One. He called Peter Sauber to pitch a potential driver, and at the Hungarian Grand Prix on August 12, 2000, they met in person. The Robertsons, well, they laid out the facts that in such a short period in car racing, Kimi was winning 80% of the races. And he wasn't just winning, he was dominating. They said, if you don't sign him this year, he's gone. Peter Sauber agreed to give Räikkönen a 3-day test at the circuit of Mugello in September. Sauber himself was surprised he agreed, as it was really expensive to do such tests, especially for an unknown driver. It was a test for teams using the Mugello facilities. Ferrari, McLaren and Sauber opted in. The first two teams wanted to test new parts and gather data. Sauber wanted to test a young unknown driver. The upcoming 3 days were a shock, not only for Sauber, but also for Michael Schumacher. 12 months before this test, Kimi was still in karts. Before he could even start testing, Sauber wanted to keep the test under the radar. The big teams, they couldn't know the name of the kid. He didn't have a contract, and if he was fast, they wanted to sign him. They kept the run plan secret, and even within the team, it wasn't fully known. Kimi was called the Eskimo to keep his identity a secret. The reason for this name? Well, the test was paid for by an ice cream manufacturer from Scandinavia. It was Sauber's full-time driver, Pedro Diniz, and Kimi Räikkönen, who took the wheel. Diniz did 78 laps and was 2.4 seconds quicker. Kimi only did 29 laps to get comfortable with F1 machinery. On testing day 2, Kimi only needed 6 laps to be half a second quicker than Pedro Diniz. His lap times, they were better than Sauber expected of a young driver with close to zero experience. He never did more than 3 or 4 laps due to the physical challenge, but Kimi knew he could go faster. He asked for a new front wing because the car had understeer, and after changing the front wing, he was 20 kilometers quicker in the corners. The car had never been driven that fast before. In the downtime between his runs, Kimi wanted to watch Schumacher. He watched him go through the corners to improve his own skills. It was the same Schumacher who went to Sauber and asked, "Who is this new driver?" They told him it was Kimi Räikkönen, and that 12 months ago, he was in karts. Schumacher told them he will be fast. Very, very fast. It was time to see if the Eskimo had real pace. He needed to do a heavy fuel run and a low fuel run. He did a decent lap with the heavy fuel load for someone with little experience in an F1 car. A low fuel run is normally 1.2 seconds quicker. And what did Kimi do? He did exactly that. He went 1.2 seconds quicker. During the tests, Kimi never damaged the car, spun in the gravel, or did anything to make them doubt. The decision? It was easy. Peter Sauber called everyone in the motorhome and said, "We signed the Eskimo." While his Formula 1 debut would come in 2001, Kimi did multiple Formula 1 tests to get ready. Besides that, he served his mandatory 12 months in the military, which also helped him get into better physical shape to survive a whole season. But before his debut could become a reality, Peter Sauber faced another challenge. Räikkönen had only done 23 car races, and he didn't have a super license. Due to his limited experience, FIA President Max Mosley voiced concerns, but after a persuasive performance by Peter Sauber, Kimi was granted a provisional super license and could make his debut. All eyes were on him and the other rookies, Fernando Alonso and Juan Pablo Montoya. The first race of the season was in Australia, and Kimi showed he was ready for Formula 1. With a P17 in qualifying, it was hard to achieve points, but a strong race on Sunday and finishing P6 within the points showed that he had the speed. The key to this? Well, he might have still been asleep 30 minutes before the race started. It was a season with a lot of retirements. His consistency and his good performances, it silenced many critics and it caught the attention of top teams like McLaren and Ferrari. McLaren was torn between signing Räikkönen or his teammate Nick Heidfeld. Kimi's fellow countryman, Mika Häkkinen, decided to retire at the end of 2001. His legendary words convinced McLaren to sign Kimi. "If you want to win, get the fin." With McLaren believing in the potential of their new signing, it was Kimi who needed to prove he could handle a top team and winning machinery in 2002. And so he did. With a third-place finish, the fastest lap, and a podium in the opening round, he showed what he could do. But it wasn't the season Kimi had hoped for. He showed his skills, but McLaren struggled with the reliability of the Mercedes engines. With 17 Grand Prix races, 6 finishes, and 4 podiums, it was still a decent season. He nearly won the French Grand Prix, but a spin over oil took his victory away. If McLaren had a better car, who knows what could have happened. In 2003, in only his 3rd season of Formula 1, Kimi was a title contender. McLaren had a better car, and Kimi was able to challenge the dominating Michael Schumacher. With his first win in Malaysia after a strong start and good strategy, 10 podiums and 3 retirements, Räikkönen missed out on his first championship by just 2 points, and the iconic nickname, the Iceman, was born. He didn't care about anything other than driving fast and winning. But the 2004 season was again a disappointment. Reliability issues plagued the Finn. A mid-season update allowed him to win 1 race at Spa-Francorchamps and end the season with 3 podiums out of 4 races. Then 2005 arrived, and McLaren gave Räikkönen a car capable of winning again. A strong season followed with 7 race wins, multiple pole positions, and the legendary Japanese Grand Prix from the 17th to the 1st, a race every fan remembers. However, reliability and the Michelin tyre drama hindered his championship bid, and he finished 2nd in the standings. What followed in 2006 was another year of disappointment. Multiple retirements due to reliability issues, but still managing podium finishes was enough to finish 5th in the championship. By now, people had learned that Kimi wasn't a man of many words. He mumbled in interviews, hid under his baseball cap, or ran for the nearest exit. However, his private life was quite different. Multiple news articles surfaced about his partying behavior. He was once spotted outside a bar cuddling an inflatable dolphin. And of course, there was the famous 2006 Monaco interview.
I was having a shit.
But the 2006 season, it isn't remembered for that. The man who had told Sauber that Kimi would be fast, very, very fast, he was retiring.
At the end of this year, I've decided together with the team that I'm going to retire.
His replacement, Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi arrived at Ferrari with big shoes to fill. The void left by Michael Schumacher, it needed to be filled, and his arrival wasn't without controversy. Ferrari banned their new recruit from attempting dangerous sports. However, Kimi still competed in a snowmobile race under the alias of James Hunt. The Iceman, he won the race. He also won the season opener from pole position, but it was his former team, McLaren, that posed the challenge. A beautiful season followed, with strong drives, race wins and pole positions. Despite this, Kimi was 3rd in the driver standings, and it seemed like a long shot for him to win the title. Meanwhile, he won a powerboat race dressed in a gorilla suit, again under the name James Hunt. Every time I think back on this, I wonder how he even remained in the championship fight. With the last race in Brazil, Kimi, he still had a chance to win, and so he did. His nearest contender, Lewis Hamilton, had gearbox issues and couldn't gain enough positions to win the championship. Räikkönen won the title by just 1 point. It was his first year with Ferrari, their first year without Michael Schumacher. I'm very happy. I came from pretty much nothing, but my family, friends and sponsors helped me get here. People will probably look at me differently and make up more stories about me, but I'm going to lead my life as I want, and that's it. In the following 2 seasons with Ferrari, Kimi's results declined. He was in contention for the 2008 title, but the car's performance dropped, and Kimi began to make mistakes. He should have really won the title in 2008 if you ask me. The following year, Ferrari, they had a poor car, and with only a win at Spa and a bad season overall, it was time to say farewell to Formula 1. His interest in the sport, well, it had faded, and Ferrari bought him out of his contract to sign Fernando Alonso. While Kimi tried 2 years of rallying without much success, he started to miss winning, something he was very used to with his talent. What followed was a very successful return to Formula 1. The Iceman, he joined Lotus, and let's just say his speed was still there. With multiple podium finishes, strong recoveries from the back of the grid, and a win in Abu Dhabi with the legendary words,
"Just leave me alone, I know what to do."
he proved that Kimi Räikkönen was still a driver to fear, with special abilities. Finishing 3rd in the driver standings confirmed that. But there was a dark side to the success. Lotus had signed a performance-based contract with the Finn, not expecting him to perform that well. He was to receive €50,000 bonuses for every point scored. While the 2013 season was less successful than 2012, he still achieved multiple podium finishes and was consistent. He ended up scoring 390 points, meaning Lotus, well, they owed him €19.5 million in bonuses. The rumours began to circulate that Lotus hadn't paid Kimi since the end of 2012. There was friction within the team. The Iceman refused to show up for the Belgian Grand Prix. He eventually did, but his season was cut short due to surgery on an old back injury. Kimi never received the full amount he was promised. He took home only 60% so that everyone could keep their jobs. What a guy. Kimi wasn't finished with Formula 1 though. He returned to Ferrari after leaving Lotus due to financial issues. It was a dream lineup for many, Fernando Alonso and Kimi Räikkönen, but it wasn't the return Kimi had hoped for. He struggled a lot with the car and the new braking system. With a 4th place finish and a career-low 12th in the championship, it wasn't the Räikkönen everyone knew. Later that year, it was announced that Alonso would leave and Vettel would become his teammate. The car was again nothing special. It was clear that Kimi wasn't the better driver, and honestly, we never saw the old him again. Finally, returning to the podium in 2015, and in his own words,
Thank you. Finally.
He won the 2018 United States Grand Prix. In those years, he was more of a second driver and support for Sebastian Vettel than a title contender himself. Of course, he was still a top driver, and he wanted to win, but did it really bother him? Personally, I don't think so. You could see he was a happy man. The once rebellious party lover became a family man with 2 kids, just enjoying his time driving cars really fast. So, what happened at the end of 2018? Retirement? No. He went to Sauber for 2019 and beyond. One final show at the age of 39. Sauber, now named Alfa Romeo Racing. They weren't a title contender, but Kimi still showcased that he wasn't washed up. He led the team, lived nearby in Switzerland, and the team's lower profile suited the private life of the Iceman. Kimi helped the team, inspired personnel, and contributed to car development. In 2021, it was time to retire. The former world champion retired after a record-breaking 349 race starts. Driving for 5 different teams, he scored 21 wins, 103 podiums, 18 pole positions, 46 fastest laps, and a world championship in 2007. While the Iceman is often remembered for his partying, short interviews, or legendary quotes, I think we should remember him as one of the drivers with the best primes in Formula 1. He had a beautiful driving style, he was one of the best in wheel-to-wheel battles, and, above all, he had incredible speed. His stint with McLaren from 2002 to 2006, it showcased just that. For someone who was in the sport for such a short time, he instantly cemented his name as one of the greatest to ever race in Formula 1. There's one other story I want you to know about though. The crash of Fernando Alonso in Barcelona in 2015. It's a little bit more of a conspiracy, with stories about mechanical failure, strong wind, and even an electric shock.